Let me welcome you all to today's session titled Leadership Essentials for Effective Education Management. So today we have a very august gathering. We have a lot of top educators from the city and surroundings. Some of you are school principals, directors, deans, top decision makers in education. We have a lot of teachers. Teaching is one of the world's noblest professions, and we all are doing our bit to shape young minds. So today we are going to look at education, and especially educators, from the prism of leadership. So education management is a very important factor. Teachers teach in a classroom, students follow them. So teachers are natural leaders. But there is a lot that goes into understanding the student, their psyche, the parents, and hence manage the whole value system very well. And this becomes much more magnified when you take up the entire institute, the entire school or university or college. So that is the whole purpose of speaking to you today. So from the last 5 years, after the COVID-19, which made a paradigm shift to the entire world, we are talking of a term called new normal. So a lot of things which were constant before COVID or which was happening for years and decades have changed now. A lot of dynamics have changed, a lot of patterns have changed, and we are using this term new normal. What is normal today, what is very regular and common, was not there even 5 years back. The world is changing very fast, it is dynamic, it is rapidly changing all the patterns. So we call it the VUCA economy. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complicated and ambiguous. Why volatile? Whatever is there today, be it the student, be it the syllabus, be it the market demands, be it the jobs, things are disappearing very fast. After COVID, we had a lot of onslaught of technology. Online education, online communication, online certifications, everything, digital technology came in. So this was a volatile. The physical workplace was replaced. Infrastructures became smaller, jobs got lost, hence employment demand got lost. This affected the placements of colleges, this affected one and all. And hence, a lot of upskilling was required, reskilling was required. So it is also very uncertain. Nowadays, we are hearing a lot of artificial intelligence. A lot of things are being done by technology. As the human intervention is getting reduced. So this is another threat or a challenge. So will the human beings be completely replaced by gadgets and robots? No. The human beings, the students, the future generations of tomorrow have to learn, have to pick up the new skills. So uncertainty is there, volatility is there, and things are complicated. The older generation, people working for 15, 20, 30 years, might find it very difficult to grasp new technologies, attend to these new norms. It is not only about education. If you look at the other people, the domestic folks, something like banking, something like communication, there is so much of advent of smartphones, the newer digital systems, maybe emails, maybe any kind of communication. It looks very normal to us. But if you look at a huge country like India, you will find a remotest part where there is so much of infrastructure gap. There is not proper electricity, not proper roads. So there is a huge what we call the digital divide. So that is why things are very complicated. And educators and education management systems should not only think of the small children or the teenagers or the young adults. They should also think of adult education. So the whole purpose is to address this VUCA economy, and things are ambiguous. Not everything is very crystal clear. There are a lot of double meanings. We are having the national education policy, and we are having a lot of rethinking of the mode of education, the way we are teaching, the way we are creating our syllabus, what will be the evaluation systems, all these things. Like think of a student who now may create an assignment by just clicking a few keys on the keyboard and using things like ChatGPT or Google Gemini. They can create a lot of things. So we have to be really understanding how to evaluate. Should we focus on memory? Should we focus on creative thinking? Should we think of experiential learning, give them new kind of projects? So that is what are the challenges before us. So let's, in a very snapshot, talk of students of the present scenario. Students of the present scenario, by and large, have a commercial upbringing. They, no matter which strata of society they come from, the parents have more opportunities today. Even if I talk of remote villages, if we talk of below poverty lines, they are into very different kind of professions today. So even if they don't have money, please don't get confused by my term commercial upbringing. When I say commercial upbringing, I talk of commercial consciousness. Even a very poor family, they have seen the importance of money. So when they approach education, they will ask that the parents will ask, and the children will be conscious that whatever I am learning, will this help me to earn my bread tomorrow? So that commercial nature is imbibed in society today, and we have to appreciate that. I am not addressing any moral dilemma that is right or wrong, but we have to address this as a fact and see what we can do about it. By and large, everyone is more technologically empowered. While introducing the session, I discussed this. So even very remotest parts of India, in villages, in small towns, even in the below poverty line population of the cities, we have smartphones, we have access to internet. So the technological empowerment is happening across society. Even the adult population is now more exposed to technology. We are talking of Zoom sessions, of Google Meets, we are talking of video calls. All these things were not so common 5-6 years back. So that is there. We talk of students, they are inquisitive by nature. They are not going to have blind faith. In our time, when we were children, we were told to blindly follow what teacher says. But today's students will challenge, will question. When we are teaching in the classroom, students might check the smartphone and see what we are teaching is correct or not. So this is some kind of inquisitiveness, and they were aware and they are demanding. So this is the nature, and the proxemics and kinesics coming. Of course, we have a lot of online sessions, a lot of digital learning, a lot of recorded content. But again, the child should have a holistic development. The student, even a grown-up student, when you are at proximity to the teacher or the trainer, when you are having the hand movements, the eye contacts, the facial expression, the physical movements in any kind of a workshop or a field visit, that creates a lot of learning. So overall, when we talk to the VUCA economy, the students of today are much more challenging, are much more demanding, and they are much more advanced. So we have to also always, as educators, think 2 steps ahead, how to frame the structure of the curriculum, how to develop our pedagogy, how to develop our education system, how much technology to involve, and how to upskill and reskill our teams so that we live up to the potential of the students. Because if we can nurture this changing dynamic student community, that will be very helpful. Coming to the next topic, we are going to discuss the parents of the current scenario. Now, even parents have changed. The new generation parents I'm talking of, they are having employment issues. The COVID onslaught and the technology and everything as the government changes, policy changes, they are having employment issues. Throughout the economy, we have seen a lot of reduction of jobs, new kinds of jobs coming in, lot of unemployment. There are small families, they are trying for all kinds of income, main income and supplementary income. So a side hustle they are doing. So overall parents are stressed. They are having a lot of family responsibilities, old parents, relations, societal pressures. So basically they have challenges in their workplace, in their profession. They have to manage the family budget. They have to also cater to all the relationship requirements, be it their older generation or their kids. So overall parents are actually not very peaceful now. It might be a very generic comment, but by and large parents are facing challenges. Also, many parents who had a different kind of education are facing technological handicaps, especially if you talk about the middle income or lower middle income groups or lower income groups. They may not have the purchasing power to really use technology. So that is where resistance to change comes in. Whenever you are changing your curriculum, whenever you are shifting from your set pattern, whenever you are asking them to participate, they may not find it easy. So they might actually end up resisting, conflicting, and also many of them could not reach what their ambition was. So maybe they are stuck in their midlife crisis, or they are still struggling in their jobs or business. So sometimes they almost, I will say, very subconsciously, they make their children as their tools or vehicles of their own ambition. And then whenever the children, get deviated from their performance, they might be actually creating problems for teachers or the schools. So managing the expectations are very important. And I don't want to give you very basic examples. You all are experienced and you are conducting so many sessions, you are managing large institutions. So any parent who finds that you are suddenly charging a new fee or adding a new course, or even as basic as asking the student to come for 2 extra hours, so their entire schedule is getting a bit changed, they will resist these changes. So we have to do a lot of parent meetings, we do parental counseling, we have to do a lot of parental orientation sessions, So this is a holistic team. The parent-child team is what we cater to. A school is not just teaching the student. A college is not just teaching the student. There is a parental involvement. It is more in schools, but also there in colleges. So we should think of the parents. And if we can give that kind of a value, if the confidence of the whole society on the institution is good, that they take care of the students, they also take care of the student's family. I know it sounds a bit hypothetical, but that is very important to this scenario. Coming to the next topic, let's discuss the teachers, who are the very important stakeholders in this entire ecosystem. So the teachers' challenges are similar to parents, but a bit more, because they are at the core of this system. They are also grown-up adults. They also have their education in a different time zone, in a different timeline. So there will be skill gaps. Think of your teachers who are working in remotest parts of the country, where infrastructure is not really developed, where technology is not that much available. Or maybe if they are trying to take an online class from maybe on an odd time from their homes, so we should empower them. So there are skill gaps, and this leads to self-doubts. We found this during COVID. We have really recovered from that, but still I find a lot of teachers find it more comfortable to take offline session. So if there is a opportunity of an institute to conduct a course which is difficult offline because the students and parents could not come conveniently. Suppose you are doing a course for working adults, or you are doing it for maybe the domestic homemakers who cannot come, so you want to run an online course, and the most conducive time is a late evening or a holiday. And because of that, you don't want to do an offline session, you do online session, and you ask the teacher to conduct the same session from their home setup. So you have to really empower the teachers with the technology, with the right kind of training, with the right kind of mentoring and motivation. You have to sensitize them of how the importance of the education is there and how it is commercially important to your institute. So this is the kind of empowerment and kind of addressing of skill gaps and addressing of the self-doubts is required. You will face resistance to change. So for doing that, you should bring in a lot of extracurricular activities. When you have your teachers' activities, engage them in some kind of a technology-enabled game. Take them for some kind of a workshop or a visit. Along with students, the teachers also need to continuously learn. We should appreciate that we are also encroaching into their personal space. If you are giving a flexi time to a teacher to teach from home at odd hours, obviously the family may not be really happy to accept. So you have to sensitize the entire ecosystem of the family also. So because we are encroaching into their family, the personal space. So changing lifestyles may happen, health issues may come in. I will advise all the institutions, all the colleges and schools to do regular health checkup camps, to do mental sensitization, have a psychologist, not only for the students, also for the parents and for the teachers, because as I move on, the triangle of support is very, very important. So if you look at this entire ecosystem, we have three key stakeholders: the student, the teacher and the parent. So there should be proper smooth communication between the teacher and the parent. I have already said parents should support the student, and between the student and teacher, of course, the interaction happens in the classroom and outside the classroom. So teachers should support the student, teach them the subject, take care of their mental well-being, the development, and also give regular feedback. And feedback from student to teacher should be both way, and feedback should also come from teacher to parent in forms of communication. I want to highlight one point. Many times, the student is opening up and being confident of the teacher than the parent. Maybe the family situation is not great. So as educators, you should know if a child is suddenly becoming frustrated, quiet, anxious, introvert, they are not responding, we should counsel them and find out the problem may not be with him or her. The problem may be at the home front. So you have to really take one step ahead and engage with the parent. So this is the whole triangle of student support. The management of the institute, the entire ecosystem is outside this. This is the core triangle. So we have discussed today about the students of the new economy, the parents of the new economy, and the teachers of the new economy, and how this triangle of support should be facilitated so that our academic institutions are much more advanced. And it's a VUCA economy. We have started with the volatile, uncertain, complicated, and ambiguous, and we should appreciate the changes and we should adjust ourselves for the same. In the second part of today's session, I am going to go deeper into the concepts of leadership and try to connect that to education. As I started by saying that the teachers, the teaching managers, the principals, the directors, the management of any institution, they should lead. The teacher should lead the students in the classroom, and the management and the leaders of the organization should lead both students, teachers and parents. So when we're discussing leadership and its importance in education management, when you talk about leadership, you all know what leadership is. I don't want to go to the basics, but one concept of leadership says that a leader, a good leader, has great followers who become leaders. So a great leader is not somebody who has lots of followers. A great leader is somebody who has lots of followers who are themselves leaders. So when we talk of leadership, we have to study followership. So my focus for the next few minutes will be on followers. And followers might be students for a teacher, followers might be parents for a teacher, for the school principal or head of the department or the director or dean or vice chancellor, all the teaching and non-teaching staff and the students and parents are followers. So when you talk of followers, broadly, I have taken some knowledge from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and categorized followers. So the first category of followers are maybe the not educated, not much aware, nascent type of followers who are blind followers, who have blind faith. So we call them the Bhakti Yogis. So they worship you, they idolize you, and they blindly follow what you say. So they get knowledge from you one way and they just absorb. They don't contribute much in return, they are less challenging. But your impact on them is great because they don't question, they don't challenge. Even for an example, I say you never do that. If you teach them something wrong, they might also absorb it very fast. And we have this kind of followers in classroom, we have it in the organization, we have it in all walks of society. The second category are the followers who are the karma yogis. They want to work. They will not blindly only follow what you say. They will experiment, they will implement. You tell them something in classroom, they will immediately want to come to the board and try it out. They will try to go for experiments. They will try to go for field visits. They will go and try at home. So they are the karma yogis, the workers who will implement and learn from the experience. They will not just take your theoretical value, but so these are the karma yogis. And last are the very challenging but a great kind of follower who are the jnana yogis, the people who challenge you, who question you, who debate you, who always have a counter thought. Sir, you are saying something, ma'am, you are saying something, why this cannot be? So they give a counter thought and they actually make you research, they make you learn more, and they also have great leadership potential. So three categories: the people who are just okay with basic knowledge, the blind followers, they try to follow you, so knowing. Then there are the karma yogis who believe in doing, experimenting, they want to pick up the skill along with the knowledge. And then we have the being, the people who live the knowledge, who challenge you, who only accept after they are fully convinced. They take the theory, they take the practical, they also experiment the alternate way. They will many times disobey you. And not, like suppose you give a project and tell them to follow one path, they will do an entirely different thing. But when you look at that, you find there is a lot of creativity. They may not be correct all the time. So we have to have all these qualities in our students, in our followers, in our teams, in our teachers. So we have these three categories: the people who are the blind followers, the people who are the experiential followers, and the people who are the challengers. So that is the type of followers. Now I go into a very, very important leadership model. We commonly call it the Hershey and Blanchard situational leadership model by Paul Hershey and Ken Blanchard. So this model is a very interesting model and it is used in all walks of life. So as we said, a teacher's teaching style might change based on the follower's learning style. So when I talk about the education prism, like we had the blind followers, so you teach them in one way. We had the karma yogis, the skill level followers who want to experiment. So your pedagogy and delivery should cater to these activities. And we have the jnana yogis who have a lot of attitude, who wants to live and be the knowledge. So they want to really have all 360 learning. So you change your teaching. Now we are going to in-depth. Now if you look at this graph, there are 4 quadrants, and then in the bottom you have the 4 kinds of followers. So I am coming to the bottom right. The bottom right is the S1. Now S1 is a category of leadership. To understand that, we have to go to the followership. So if you look at B1, so suppose a follower is there who is unable and unwilling, like a small child. They don't know what to do and also they don't know the good and bad. For example, if there is a small toddler who is crawling on the floor, they don't know anything. They cannot take care of themselves. They are nascent. They are vulnerable, and also they are not knowing what is good for them, what is bad for them. If you don't take care of them, if you don't keep watch, they may go out to the road. They may go to the kitchen and touch the fire, or they can cut their hand in a knife. So they are unable and unwilling. So this kind of children you need to really control. Sometimes you actually scold, you keep them confined to a place just for their safety. So we call this leadership as directing. Now since we are taking education as an example, there will be certain students who don't have any knowledge, they are a bit slow learners, and also they don't know what is good for them or bad for them. So for example, if you tell a child of class 1 or 2 that you should study, you can become very big in your life, they probably don't understand what is being big in life. They don't want to study, neither they have knowledge. So they are at a very, very vulnerable state. So we say the leadership style should be directing. And this happens in the workplace also. Even in the teachers, even in the staff, you will have people who are not technically very good, and also they are not very, very positive about their lifestyle. So this is not for children only, this is for any kind of people. So you might have to really force them, reprimand them, sometimes create some hot stoves, we say, that if you don't follow this instruction, this will be the penalty. So you have to direct it. In directing style, the leader takes all the decisions. So I repeat, unable and unwilling followers, the skill is low and the attitude is also low. So you have to direct. Then we come to the second quadrant. We call it coaching. We look at D2. Unable but willing. Now I take the child's example first. Suppose the child is class 3, 4, 5. They're still not having much knowledge. They still have to learn a lot. But they somewhere feel that yes, we need to learn. We need to grow. We need to become confident. So they are getting a bit of awareness. So unable but willing. So this is where coaching is required. You cannot force a class 3, 4 kid to do everything. You cannot tell them to write 20 pages. You cannot force them. So this is where you need to counsel them. You should give them rewards. That if you get a good marks, you can get this trophy or you can get this prize. If you do this I will take you for a vacation. I will take you for a project or a function. So some kind of, so for unable and willing, this is very important. For example, if you have a teacher who is a new teacher, first 1 or 2 years they struggled, but now they are slowly getting the grasp of it. So you cannot always control. See, they are unable, so you cannot leave them independent. You cannot tell them to create their own lesson plan. You cannot leave it to them to run their class their way. So they need your coaching, they need your support. But you cannot force them that yehi karo, wahi karo, no. You have to also make them participate with you, although you take the decision because they are unable. So in directing style, teacher, the leader takes a decision. In coaching style, also the leader takes a decision. But in directing style, the leader doesn't need to convince the follower, because the follower has to follow blindly. You have to really direct them. But in second quadrant, the unable but willing follower has to really be participant. They should at least feel that they belong. So this is the thing. This happens in grown-up adults also. Because their skill is low, they are still unable, you cannot leave it to them. But because they are willing, you should involve them. So that is the coaching style. Now I go to the third quadrant, which is the supporting style. Now here, the follower has grown in the content. The skill has improved. They have become mature. So you have to really support them and involve them in a more serious way. The decision in the third quadrant is joint. For example, the child is now in class 10. Now they are choosing science or arts or commerce. You cannot force them. Neither you can tell them that if you take science, I will give you this bike. So that will not work. You have to involve them because it is their career issue. So they will also want some serious involvement because willingness has gone up. Ability has gone up. But willingness here comes down. Why I am telling you, ego comes in. If you look at the third quadrant, when a follower knows that I have learned a lot, my skill has gone up, my ability has gone up, I am able, they become unwilling. I would like to digress a bit here and take an example from sports. Let's take cricket. So if you look at a new debutant player who is not a very good player, talented but new to the team, so a bit nervous, a bit shaky, unable, and sometimes very nervous and unwilling, so they go to bat and you tell them to play defensive but they try to hit a score and get out. So you probably give them a dressing down. So as a coach or as a captain, you tell them, see, you are still new to the game. Don't show your heroics. Follow the discipline. Be at the wicket and follow what we are saying, directly. When the player has played a few matches, 10, 20 matches, they're still not a great player, but their attitude has changed. Then you coach. Suppose the player gets out playing a rash shot, you tell them that, okay, next time you do better. So you try to counsel them. You don't just reprimand them. Now the player has become a top player, third quadrant. The player has hit few centuries, has got some man of the match awards. Now their attitude and ego has come up. Now even if they get out, you cannot tell them anything directly. There will be a problem. They are able, but they are a bit unwilling because they are egoistic. Maybe they are wanting to become the captain. They want more bowling. They want more higher order batting. So what does the coach do? The coach participates with them, discuss with them whom to set the bowling with. The captain does this. The captain doesn't take autocratic decisions. They involve the senior players. So that is what is supporting all about. It's a participative leadership. So I repeat before I go to the fourth quadrant. The first quadrant is about directing. The follower has no role to play. They need your control. They need your direction because they are unable and unwilling. Second quadrant, they are unable but they are willing. So they need their coaching. You make their pat on the back, but you take the decision. Follower cannot decide because follower is still unable. Third quadrant is supporting. Follower is able but unwilling because now the ego or the attitude issues are coming. You have to involve them. You have to, like in raw language, you have to massage their ego and make sure that they don't go in a different way. Because if the captain or the leader doesn't get cooperation from the team players who are the better players, the veteran players, then there will be internal competition to lead to conflict. That will not happen. So in the classroom, you have some students who are really talented, and because they are talented, they become the Gyan Yogis. They want to question everything. You involve them. In the teaching team, you have some teachers who are not HODs, not principals, but they are very active. They have their own talent, and that is why they are egoistic. You have to involve them. So that is the way. Last is very interesting, delegating. Now your follower is a leader on his or her own right. You leave it to them. You delegate. They decide. So if you have a veteran, a child who is now grown up in college, they decide what course to take. They take your advice, but they decide. You just support them. You take one step back. I'm talking to teachers or parents. Similarly, if a student in the class 11, 12 is running a college fest or a school fest or a function, and they take some decisions, if they are confident, they might go wrong sometimes, but you have to give them the authority to delegate. Like if you have a senior teacher or a senior management member who is very capable, make them leaders of their units. Make them accountable. Don't interfere with the departmental HODs. They are leaders on their own right. So I repeat by saying, I'll take the cricket example. Suppose you have a player like, say maybe, the captain is Rohit Sharma, but Virat Kohli is in the team. You cannot just force him. You cannot just, do coaching with him and give him a reward. You cannot always, you have to leave him alone. When he is batting, he is a leader in his own right. So that's the kind of thing you have to do. So I just repeat, in the first quadrant, the decision is by the leader. In the second quadrant, the decision is by the leader again. The third quadrant, it's a joint decision. But on the fourth quadrant, delegating, able and willing followers, the decision is by the follower. It's a beautiful model where different kinds of followers. So the teacher has to be versatile. A teacher has to understand that some students are in the directing stage, even in class 10, even in class 12. Some are in coaching stage where everyone doesn't follow the same speed. People mature from unable, unwilling, they become unable, willing, then they become able, unwilling, and they become able and willing. So that direction goes in. However, the speed of movement is not always same. And also, I will take one more example. This model is beautiful. We have another perspective. We have, suppose, say a person who is in class 12. Now, in the home, there are 2-3 brothers and sisters, and he is an elder brother. So, in the home, he is at a supporting or delegating stage for the parent. But when they come to college in the first year, they are at a directing stage. So, I might be a veteran in one field, but a novice in another field. So, as a leader, you should understand where you are. The follower might have different issues. For example, you might have a 40-year-old or 45-year-old person working in the office who needs directing, who needs coaching. You cannot delegate because he's a grown-up. He might be 10 years in the company. So leadership is a very, very versatile activity. Before I complete this model, I will tell you one more perspective. If you look at this as a graph, for example, if you look at these two quadrants, D1 and D4, directing and delegating. Here, there is more transaction, less of relationship. Why directing has less relationship? You are directing, you are dictating, you are not involving too much. So you are telling the follower, do what I am telling you to do. Whereas in delegating, you are telling the follower, do what you think is right, I am just behind. So in both cases, the follower leader, there is a gap. And that is good for the system. So the relationship is less. Whereas in both cases of coaching and supporting, S2 and S3, the relationship quotient is higher. If you look at the coaching, the leader and follower is engaging not in a serious mode. It is something like the class 5 kid sitting with father when father is designing a tour plan. So you take the inputs but you take the decision. Whereas this is more of a serious association. But the point is both supporting and coaching, S2 and S3, have association. The relationship quotient is more. Whereas in directing and delegating, the relationship quotient is less. So this is the Harshey-Blanchard situational leadership model. In a nutshell, followers are different, followers are having a lot of diversity. You cannot have same fact. And to end with, I will take an example again from Bhagavad Gita. If you all must have heard of Sam, Dam, Dhan, Bhed. So that is what it talks about. That you have to have different strategies for different people. So when you talk of Sam, it is Samanta, which is about supporting. Dam, it is the price, which is coaching. Dhan, it is the punishment, which is directing. And Bhed, it is division, which is delegating. This is another very important leadership model which is relevant to management as well as to educators and any field of life. This model was created by two behavioral scientists, Robert Blake and Jane Morton. They made a questionnaire, they surveyed many people, both leaders and followers, and many systems, organizations, social settings, domestic settings, and they made this model which gives us a great direction of how to understand leadership and how to benefit from it. So if you look at this model or this diagram, it's a graph. So there is an x-axis and a y-axis. So if you look at the x-axis, it is concerned for production, which means concern for work. How much value you are creating through your work in terms of quantity. So it is low and high. So in a particular system, be it a classroom, be it an institution, be it an organization, profit or non-profit, x-axis concern for production means how much concern the leader has for good performance in terms of work quantity. And if you look at the y-axis, you have concern for people, high and low. So if you look at the y-axis, as you move up the y-axis, the leader's concern for people is rising, how much they take care of their people, be it the students in a classroom, be it the management in an institution, or the employees in an organization, wherever. So this model actually categorizes leaders and hence how the followers are impacted, that is being discussed. If we look at the first quadrant, which is impoverished management, if you look at that 1-1, so here the concern for production is low and the concern for people is also low. So what we say in management parlance as laissez-faire. So basically it is free for all. Nobody is serious, nobody is concerned. Absolutely unproductive system. There is hardly any leadership there. So in terms of the leadership grid, in the first quadrant there is absence of leadership. There is no concern for production, people come and go, they don't work, they just fool around, there is no productivity, there is no quality, no output, no revenues. Similarly, there is no concern for people also. If they fall sick, if they need support, there is nothing from the leader, nothing from the system. A management situation which has to be completely avoided because an impoverished management will vanish. If I look at a classroom, if the students are not studying, teacher is not bothered, there is no good result, and if the students are fighting, so they are injuring each other, so neither they are learning, so no concern for production, neither they are having insecurity. They might get injured, they might fall sick, so that is the impoverished management. It happens in many organizations. Not many, it is to be avoided, it's a decaying organization, it's a dying system, so you should avoid. Now let's come to the second quadrant on the right hand side bottom, the task management. Here, the concern for production is high, but the concern for people is low. So I can say these leaders are kind of dictators, like as we say, you can use the term Hitler. So they force people to work very hard. So they are very, very authoritarian. So we call it the army style of management. Like you force them, you discipline them, no concern for people, lot of hot sun, lot of heavy uniform, they have to do a lot of hardship, and there is no concern for any situation, but they are very, very, so in some cases it works. Like in army, when they are fighting a war, they need discipline, they have less of resources, so they keep the concern for people low, but they try to win, and they have to win in difficult conditions. So if you have a system in a corporate or an education institute or a classroom where we are just focused on results or revenues or profits, but we are not taking care of people, what happens? Concern for people is low, demotivation happens, and no matter how high you are concerned, the leader is so much focused on delivery, the productivity will ultimately come down. So it's an extreme case. I repeat, the concern for production on the x-axis is high, whereas concern for people on the y-axis is low. This is something which might work temporarily, but long term it will not work. Now we come to the third quadrant, the top left. We call it the country club style of management. As you see in the y-axis, the concern for people here is high, whereas in the x-axis, the concern for production is low. Now, why we call it a country club? This is something which is fun area. All play and no work. So everyone is having fun. The leader takes care of them. Leader spends a lot of money on their motivation or welfare, but there is no focus on the work. So people enjoy it like a club. So this is where people are very happy. The leader is very popular, but there is no quality, no output, no revenues, no profits. So at a certain point of time, the resources will drop, and this will also not be a very good situation. So both extremes are not sustainable in the long run. If I take an educational example, in terms of country club management, if you have a classroom where teacher is just playing games with the students, not teaching well, giving them chocolates, listening to whatever they want, but there is no proper knowledge sharing, there is no good results. So ultimately the concern for performance or production is very low, but concern for people is high. So all these three, the first one is absolutely avoided, information management. The task management, that is the concern for production high, will sustain for some time, but then might drop. Whereas the country club management will also sustain for some time because people will not leave, but that will also ultimately drop because the customers will move away and the revenues will drop. So we come to ideal situation, team management, where concern for people and production is high. Both x-axis and y-axis is high. Now this is something which is difficult to achieve, but that is where everyone should try to move to. So in this particular fourth quadrant, the resources are properly utilized. We are very, very disciplined and focused and structured on our work. But having doing that, the system is inclusive. We take care of the people welfare also. So this way what happens, people are happy, they work hard, performance is high. When performance is high, revenues are better, profits are better, and a part of the profit is very planned way channeled into people motivation to keep the concern for people also high. So although this looks very soundly, very good, it is a heavenly situation, but it is very difficult to achieve. So we talk of a middle of the road situation where we balance it, and this is where most organizations, most institutions, most non-governmental, non-profit places should try to be. They should see, trying to have high concern for production, high concern for people means you don't have any problems. That's a very, very hypothetical situation. It will not happen. Challenges will come. Certain external factors will come in which will, hamper your normal process. You will waste your resources. And why I say waste? Because those are unplanned expenditure. So somewhere your concern for people will get lost. So if the people are not happy, they might hit their discipline. So you try to create a balance. You try to engage everyone. So make sure everyone is as a team committed to production. So it never comes below 5. And also you ensure that when production is important, like suppose there is a tough deadline and you are behind in schedule due to some calamity, some storm or something. So you want people to stay back few extra hours, maybe overnight, and stick to deadlines. But when they are doing that, they are getting stressed. So you have to take care of their well-being, give them some incentives, arrange for their other requirements. So this way you balance the thing. So this is the leadership grid. There's a questionnaire which you will fill up in a particular situation, followers and leaders, and then you score the particular the graph. You plot those points and you find out what is the current situation of leadership in your organization. आप लोगों को मालूम है कि नीट एग्जाम बहुत ही जल्दी होने वाला है, 2 हफ्ते से थोड़ा ज़्यादा, तो फर्स्ट वीक ऑफ मई में ये नीट एग्जाम है और इस समय आप लोग प्रिपरेशन के एकदम अंतिम स्टेज पे हो. तो आई वांट टू रियली टेल यू अ फ्यू टिप्स व्हिच विल बी हेल्पफुल टू यू. First of all, my best wishes for an upcoming NEET exam. I think all of you, if you really follow the plan and if you follow your teachers, you will get very good results, make very good ranks, and join a very good college and become great doctors and serve the society. So first of all, please remember that don't experiment with your teaching pattern. All of you have been taught on how to appear for the paper. The subject sequence you should follow. Start with biology, then go to chemistry, and then go to physics. Try to practice every day. Follow the NCERT. I am sure you have covered all your conceptual gaps. If there is any problem, आप लोग अपने टीचर्स से मिलो, তোমরা ওখানে গিয়ে তোমাদের যে ডাউট আছে, যে কোশ্চেনে কোন সমস্যা হচ্ছে, বুঝতে সমস্যা হচ্ছে বা কোন সিলি মিস্টেক বারবার হচ্ছে, এগুলো সলভ করে নাও. Parents, I will tell you something. NEET exam happens in the afternoon, so you should practice exams in the afternoon. So in the remaining 15 days, you should write one exam every day. Afternoon maybe 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And I will give you a few important tips. While writing these exams, put the AC off, keep the windows open, দরজা জানলা খোলা রেখে ফ্যান চালিয়ে বাইরের আওয়াজ আসছে ওর মধ্যেই পরীক্ষাটা দাও. কারণ দেখো নিট এক্সামটা মে মাসের ফার্স্ট উইকে হয় যখন প্রচন্ড গরম থাকে বাইরে এবং তোমাদের সিট কিন্তু জেনারেলি it will be in a government school where you will not have AC, you have old chairs and tables, you will have lot of sound coming in, the fan and everything, invigilators talking. So you should not really think of the home where you have a very comfortable AC environment with nice clean environment where you are writing. So mental conditioning is also very important. Another point I want to tell you is that when you are solving the paper, make sure you don't take full 3 hours. Try to finish it within 10, 15, 20 minutes early, because during your NEET exam, you have to carry a lot of documents, your admit cards and other things, photographs, and there will be a lot of signatures you have to make. So the invigilators come in multiple times and meet you, and this creates a disturbance. So the whole idea is NEET is like a one-day match. All of you are very good students. आप लोगों ने बहुत पढ़ाई किया, बहुत मेहनत किया, बहुत प्रैक्टिस किया, सब कुछ आप लोग आता है, लेकिन उस दिन वन डे मैच है, थोड़ा सा भी प्रॉब्लम होने से थोड़ा मार्क्स अगर कम हो जाएगा, you make one mistake on a one question, you lose 4 marks and get 1 mark negative. So this will hamper your ranks. So as we say in English, do not leave any stone unturned. You put in your best effort. और सबसे पहले बात यह है कि आप लोगों को जब सॉल्व करना है, यू सॉल्व विद दी OMR फिलिंग का भी एक टाइम जाता है, जो आप लोगों को कोई डरना नहीं है, OMR का सैंपल मिलता है, उसी से प्रैक्टिस कीजिए. और you might be, I will suggest that you fill up the OMR after every section, biology, chemistry, physics, but some of you do it in the end. But make sure that while filling OMR, you don't make it a mistake, because OMR sheets are scanned, so if you make a mistake once, it cannot be recovered. So sometimes you tick in your question papers and you have the correct answer, but bubbling the OMR, you make a mistake. This shouldn't happen. आप सबको ये सब मालूम है, लेकिन मुझे एक बार रिमाइंड कर देना अच्छा रहेगा. और इस बार सेक्शन भी नहीं है, तो टाइम फिर से पहले की तरह 3 घंटा हो गया. डजंट मैटर, रूल्स ऑफ द गेम इज सेम फॉर एवरीवन. सेक्शन भी नहीं होने से, ऑप्शन नहीं होने से हो सकता है क्वेश्चन थोड़ा टफ लगे, बट दैट विल बी फॉर ऑल द स्टूडेंट्स हु आर राइटिंग द एग्जाम. और रूल्स ऑफ द गेम इज सेम फॉर एवरीवन. इससे शायद कट ऑफ लास्ट ईयर से थोड़ा कम आ जाएगा, जो आप लोगों के लिए अच्छा है, ताकि आप लोगों को भी रैंक मिलना आसान होगा. सो इट इज अ फेयर गेम फॉर एवरीवन. एक और चीज मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ फॉर पेरेंट्स एंड स्टूडेंट्स, व्हेन यू गेट योर सीट एलोकेशन, whichever school or college your NEET exam center is, if possible somebody from the family can visit and see the distance, the direction, क्या सेटिंग है, तो थोड़ा प्रिपरेशन रहेगा. और इससे क्या होता है ना, जिस दिन नीट एग्जाम है, 2 बजे एग्जाम होता है, आप लोग एकदम लास्ट मिनट पे मत पहुंचिए. प्लीज रीच अर्ली. You might take, you don't know that place, it's a new place, so you are going, so you might take time to go, there might be traffic problem, there might be other problem, So it is always better to go 2-3 hours in advance and be there and accustomed situation. So go there, you freshen up a bit, and you are really fit and fine when you go for the exam. And make sure you keep your whole things ready before the day of the exam. Or another thing I want to tell you is that in this remaining 15-20 days, don't talk to too many people. Maybe you time to time talk to your friends or to your family or grandparents who motivate you, but too much of inputs this time is not required. You know everything, your teachers have guided you, your parents are there to support you. Just it's fine-tuning and refreshing yourself so that at that day you are at the peak of your performance. Having said that, the day before the exam also becomes very important. Have very nice, non-spicy, easily digestible food. साधारण खाबार जा हजम ভালো হয়, शरीर ठंडा रखे गरमेर समय। पेरेंट्स को बोल रहा हूँ, उनको थोड़ा हेल्थ का ध्यान रखिए, सेहत का ध्यान रखिए, बिकॉज़ अनफिट रहेंगे तो अपना परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाएंगे। Relax the day or the day before the exam. Don't study too much. When you go for the NEET exam, you should be fit. You should not go with sleepy eyes or you're tired. Then you will not be able to perform. जितना पढ़ाई आप लोगों ने लास्ट 2 साल में किया या लास्ट 1 साल में किया, ये सब उसी समय अप्लाई करना है। वो एक दिन में कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा। You go और अर्ली मॉर्निंग also don't get confused if somebody says something and you think that ये तो मुझे पता नहीं था। Don't get confused. Whatever you know, you will do your best. So this is the thing. And last but not the least, some small tips. Like when you are very stressed or it's very natural for you students like you and parents, have a bit of chocolate. ज़्यादा नहीं तो पेट खराब होगा, लेकिन chocolate it releases the happy hormones. So like dopamine and all, so that will be good. Or in our Indian system, before any big project or before any exam, আমরা দই চিড়ে এইসব ঠান্ডা জিনিস খাই, যেগুলো মানে আমাদেরকে শরীরটা ঠান্ডা করে, আমাদের মনটাকে রিল্যাক্স করে, and we can do our best. So that's all from me today, and all the best for your NEET exam. And we expect that a lot of great doctors come out this year also. Thank you so much.